For more on the attack in Istanbul, we turn to CBSN security consultant and former FBI Assistant Director Ron Hosko, who is on the phone. Ron, we know that U.S. authorities had warned of possible attacks, and over the past week, security had been stepped up in the city. Do we have a sense yet of whether there was a security breakdown or if this was preventable?
You know, Elaine, I think it's a little bit premature to judge that. Typically, if you have a group and you have, by extension, group communications, that can be easier for law enforcement to detect and then for the intelligence services to detect and to try to get in front of. If this is the act of a lone individual who was not communicating his intentions with somebody over a period of time, that is just simply harder to do for law enforcement and for the intelligence community to posture their resources to defeat that.
Well, give us a sense here of the process. And now that the U.S. has offered to help Turkey, how will intelligence be coordinated and shared? What happens in these situations?
Yeah, so it depends on the source of that intelligence and the quality of that intelligence. But here, you know, there's attaches both from the State Department, of course, the embassies in Istanbul and in Ankara. And in other locations, the FBI has people detached in Eurasia and particularly in Ankara that work with the folks at the embassy. And there are habitual, you know, day-to-day relationships that have been built up over time. I think one of the challenges that our government will face in Turkey is the constantly changing, particularly recently this year, the changing political environment in that country. Where you have a crackdown by Erdogan in what appears to be an effort to consolidate control. You have, you know, forces that are associated with the Kurdish nationalists, the PKK, that have divergent interests from Erdogan. You have a number of divergent interests in Turkey, and it makes it a very dangerous place to be in the world right now. Not only its proximity to activity that involves ISIS, but the conflicts that exist across the Middle East that relate to religious factions and divergent views. It makes it a very, very difficult time. And now we see where Erdogan is cracking down on different groups, including the press, and jailing journalists and shuttering media outlets. So this is a difficult time to collect and to share intelligence because of very, very divergent views.
Well, Ron, let's go back to the attack and how it might have impacted U.S. security across the country. And more broadly, over the course of the evening, I would imagine in the wake of this now, that has some impact on law enforcement, on intelligence officials here in the U.S.
Right. There's no doubt that U.S. interests are being, we are watching what's going on in other parts of the world to try to understand how that threat may translate here domestically. And I think that security plans for the New Year's Eve celebrations around America were broadly set forth, and we saw them with the surge of resources near and in the proximity of celebrations here. And so we saw that with assault trucks being loaded up to block cross streets. And those are really a direct manifestation of concern about a Nice or Berlin market style attack where, you know, high-speed vehicles or heavy vehicles rolling into crowds and doing great damage. So we saw that in place. We saw the surge of resources. We're hearing it in connection with the Rose Parade. We saw it in New York City. I have a friend who's up at the Mummers Parade up in Philadelphia and said there is a tremendous presence by police and cross streets blocked, avenues of egress and ways into these parades, into the crowd, has been blocked off. So I think the awareness of this attack is one thing, but those plans are already in place for the Nice-style attack.
Officials dealing with ever-evolving threats. All right, Ron Hosko, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Lee.